Okay, and we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Oceans Week celebrations. For everybody who is joining us for the first time, this is a week to recognize the importance of oceans in our lives and the lives of future generations. And in turn, we're going to recognize the need to protect this valuable and vulnerable resource. So to help raise the profile and garner greater interest in actions for our oceans, we celebrate across the world every June. And so today we're joined by Alex Rogers, and he works at SANCCOB, and this is a marine bird rehabilitation center in South Africa. And they specialize in saving South African penguins as well as other marine birds. So I'm going to pass it off to Alex, and he is going to introduce us to some of his friends there at SANCCOB. Welcome, Alex.
Very nice. So, guys, very nice to meet all of you. I would say good morning or good afternoon, but I don't know which it is on your side of the world. It's now very late afternoon for me. And as mentioned, my name is Alex. I'm actually the education assistant at SANCCOB. Now, you might be thinking, what does SANCCOB stand for? So, just to let you guys know, SANCCOB stands for the Southern African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds. And we take care of marine birds specifically, so birds that live near the ocean and get their food from the ocean as well. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk a little bit more about the history and what we do. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to actually take you guys a little bit around the center. So, I'm now leaving my office. Now, SANCCOB is an organization that was founded in a very long time. I'm just going to go outside because they're having a meeting right now. Started this work back in 1968, which means that this year it's our 50th year of existence. And these are some of the animals that we take care of. So I'm sure you guys can see some penguins. And all of these animals are marine birds. So because of that fact, they are here specifically because of issues in our oceans and also issues on land. They actually have trouble on both sides. And it's mainly due to people that they have these kind of issues. And that's why I'm very, very happy to be here with you guys to actually show you what's happening with them, tell you what's happening, and tell you exactly how you can save these amazing. And they're here because their parents cannot look after them any longer. So, because there's very little fish out in the ocean, and because of the world's weather changing, their parents cannot look after them. So they often leave them in their nests, and it's up to us to actually go and take care of them. Now, this is a very difficult job because we're basically like parents then. When they come to us as babies, we actually have to feed them every 3 hours. And it starts at 6 a.m. in the morning until 9 p.m. at night. They have to be weighed every single day. And also they get medicine and they get fish formula and water. So they get a lot of attention. These guys over here are our normal patients. So these guys are actually staying with us for around about 2 to 3 months. They're just getting better. These are our healthiest pets. They'll be released very, very soon. And we actually do releases every week, every Thursday. So we actually do releases very often. And that's just because of how many birds we get at our center. We get about 2,500 patients every single year. And it takes a lot of effort and takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of hard work and teamwork to actually take care of them and make sure that they are healthy and happy when we release them. And it's very important that we do release them. So that's the main difference between us and a normal zoo and aquarium. We do not keep our animals. We want to take them back into the wild. Now, these animals in this pen, this is our fanciest pen here, with all the rocks and the trees. These guys over here are in our home pen. They are mostly permanent birds, which means they're staying here forever. And the reason why is because a lot of them, they are injured, they're hurt in some way, where they can't take care of themselves in the wild. So it's actually very important that we keep them here, because otherwise they would not survive in the wild without. The other reason is if they've become too tame. So if they become too tame, which means that they're not afraid of people and they expect to be taken care of by people, then they cannot look after themselves in the wild, because they have to have the skills in order to find their food, to make their homes, to look for their boyfriends and girlfriends. So there's a lot that they have to do. And if they're too used to people, they can't do any of those things. So that's something we have to be very careful about while we're taking care of these amazing animals. I'm just going to walk in a little bit, see if I can't spot anybody I recognize. Oh, hmm. Oh. So this is not an African penguin. This is a northern rockhopper penguin. And the penguin is not normally found here in South Africa. They're found on islands south of us. And they usually get here because they get caught in the Bagula current, or fishermen accidentally catch them in their nets. And some fishermen are superstitious, so they think penguins are a good luck charm, just more fish. But when they see land, they're just like, okay, you can survive here. But that's not normally the case. So when we get these types of, we to they take us, if they get sick here, they'll take us sick home, and then we'll get everybody else sick. They usually stay here with us. Who else do I know? Ah, this over here, this little guy over here. This is Mr. Squawky Face. He is the seagull that terrorizes us here in the hospital. Mr. Squawky Face is here because he was raised by somebody from a chick, but they raised him very badly, so he's actually very aggressive um, for a bird. So we decided to keep him here in the center instead of him being outside to terrorize the neighborhood. We keep him in here to terrorize just us. So Mr. Squawky Face even has signs on our fences, and he holds sign him. But he is a kelp gull. So we have three different types of seagulls in South Africa. We have gray-headed gulls, we have kelp gulls, and we have heart-lip gulls. The penguin walking away from me, that is Steve. Steve is actually here not because she's hurt, and it's a she, so it's a girl. Not because she's hurt or anything, it's because she's actually too tame. And the penguin, there we go. That is Stubby. The Stubby over here is actually building a nest. She's being a very good parent. Um, and Stubby is here because if you look at her flippers, hello, how are you doing? If you look at her flippers, they look a little bit cut off. Ow, ow, ow. Why did you bite me? There we go. So they look a little bit cut off. And the reason for that is just because when the parents were making their nest, they made their nest in somebody's garden. And they had a cat that attacked Stubby. And she came to our hospital with a bite mark on her back and her flippers. And she was also very, very sick. She had an infection. So We obviously saved her life because she's not a zombie penguin, but um, because she was sick at a very young age, her flippers did not grow to their full extent. So that means that she cannot swim as fast as she normally would be able to, which is about 24 kilometers an hour. I know you guys use miles, so that is homework for you guys. You can convert that into miles, so 24 kilometers an hour. And she would not be able to catch her fish or actually run away from her predators, so the other animals that like to eat her. So she has to stay here with us just because she could not survive out in the wild. And we give her a great second chance at life here. So home pen is for the birds that cannot survive in the wild. And this is like a normal colony. So all of these birds, most of them are still very much wild. They'd usually be attacking me. And if you guys didn't know, okay, so you guys know that penguins are cute. Everybody knows penguins are cute. But if you guys didn't know, penguins are also very aggressive, especially our African penguins. And they're aggressive, which means that they don't like to be around other animals or people. They're aggressive because they have, if you look at a penguin, they don't have a lot to defend themselves with. So there's no claws, there's no scales, there's no shell. All they really have to defend themselves is their beaks, which is still very hard. Don't get me wrong, it does hurt when they bite. But if you're comparing it to things like sharks and seals, they actually really outclassed. So they need as much protection as they can get, which is why they're a little aggressive. And it's also the reason why they form colonies and they stick together. They stick together to protect themselves. So it's very, very important. So I'm just going to leave home pen right now. And I'm going to go inside the hospital again, just so I can show you what's happening inside there. You're welcome. Okay, so this is the area that we saw earlier. So this is our wash and rinse bay. This is used for when we have an oil spill. So boys and girls, if you don't know what an oil spill is, it's when a boat or an oil rig or an oil tanker or anything that carries oil hits something or something terrible happens and the oil spills out into nature, into the environment. And it covers the plants and it covers the animals very, very bad. So we actually have to wash all the animals here, which is why we have this hosing over here on the walls. Very important. And we have our gutter here. So in an oil spill, we would move all this equipment out and we will then wash our animals. But each one of our birds takes 4 people each to wash them. And we only have an hour to wash them in because the bird is under a lot of stress. Now, if you guys didn't know, birds don't handle stress very well. They often get other illnesses or injuries, and they often don't make it. So we have to be very careful around them. So if we don't do a proper clean in that 1 hour that we have for them, we have to wait 3 days for their stress levels to go down just so that we can actually wash them again. Just going to go quickly to our education room. So this is my education room. I usually bring in schools over here and we have meetings. But unfortunately, we are currently closed because we're under construction. So it's kind of being used as a temporary storage room at the moment, which is why we have all this stuff lying around over here. But if you guys have a look, we have some taxidermy. These are some of the species that we get here at SANCCOB. So we have obviously our African penguins, we have our kelp gulls, we will have some heart-lip gulls. So you guys can see the size of a kelp gull and heart-lip gull. The heart-lip gull at the right over there is a lot smaller. White-breasted cormorants, Cape cormorants, and then on very rare occasions, we will get one of these guys. This is a wandering albatross. It has a wingspan of about 3 meters. It's very, very big. And don't normally get them because they're deep ocean birds, so they're found off our coast. They don't come near the coast at all. But because they are a marine bird, we will take them in. And just getting back to the main point, these animals are all in need of our help. Most of them are endangered. They need our help because there's not a lot of them left. And the reason why there's not a lot of them left in the world anymore is because of things like pollution, things like climate change and overfishing. We take out way too much fish. But you guys can all help. You guys can all do something to help save these amazing animals. Now put up your hand if you want to save animals. Put up your hand if you want to save all these amazing animals. There we go. I see some hands. There we go. There we go. Excellent. So, if you want to save these amazing animals, there's quite a number of things that you can do. Firstly, you have the 3 R's: the recycle, the reduce, and the reuse. So, reduce the number of things you buy. Ask yourself, is this something that you really, really need to have in your life? Is it important to you that you'll use it forever and ever? Or is it just something that you're going to use once and then just going to throw away? Reuse. Reuse is important. There's a lot of things that we can reuse. Things like our shopping bags. And it's also important that we stop buying plastic shopping bags. We can buy reusable ones now as well. Things like our water bottles. We don't throw them away after you finish them. Use them again. And then recycle. Recycle is probably the most important one. Nowadays, everybody's creating a lot of waste. And if we recycle, a lot of that is going to be used again. It's going to be broken down and it's going to be changed into something new to be used again. So it's actually incredibly important. Another thing that you guys can do is be careful of what you eat. So you guys are loud. You guys are so loud. So be careful of what you guys eat. So there's certain things coming from our oceans, which there's actually less of than others. So there's certain species of fish that are actually taken care of. Oh yes, it's a very loud penguin. Certain species of fish which is better taken care of in terms of our fisheries and how we take them out, as opposed to our other species. So you have to be mindful of that. Also do research on what's happening, how you can help. When you're older, volunteer at a conservation or nature reserve, or just help at your local SPCA or any kind of organization that helps animals, that helps plants, that's around there. Because you guys will make a massive difference. If you want to make and if you want to save many, many animals by doing just small things, because a lot of people, they assume you have to do something big to make a big change. That is not the case. I'm here to tell you that if you do small things, you will also make a massive difference. So, if you guys didn't know, plastic straws are a very big issue. And the straws are non-recyclable. So even if you take them to a recycling center, they don't get recycled. Now, if you think about it, we go to restaurants and we go to fast food places, they give us a straw with every single meal. And if they're not recycled, where do they land up? In our landfills or in our oceans. And if they land up in our landfills, the wind can blow them away very easily. And they land up in a lot of different places, not just in our towns and our cities, but in our grasslands, in our rivers, and our beaches. And to us, it's just a straw. It's nothing special. It's just one straw. But to birds, it's actually something totally different. Now, I'm sure everybody there knows the story of the 3 little pigs. The one pig makes his house out of straw, the other out of sticks, and the smart one out of bricks. So, these guys are very loud now. Um, to the birds, it actually looks like the straw is going to make a great material to build their houses from. But sometimes they accidentally swallow it and it gets stuck in their throat and then they can't eat anything and it's very, very scary for them. So if they're very lucky, they land up in a place like SANCCOB and our doctor, our vet, will do an operation and we will take that straw out and we will then eventually return him back to the wild. So if everybody there on that side stops using plastic straws, and I don't know, you guys can pick up your can or your glass, or you can use glass straws or metal straws or bamboo straws, or even if you do use a plastic straw, just use that one. Don't throw it away. Wash it and reuse it. Things like that. Every single one of you will save thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of animals. And that to me means that you guys will be superheroes, because superheroes save lives. It means you guys will be saving lives. So I think it's very important. Okay, I think I'm done talking. You guys have a chance now to ask any questions that you might have. Go for it.
All right, thanks so much, Alex. I'm going to go through my list, guys. So just the first class that I have here is Miss Crucillo's class in Markham, Ontario, Canada. Do you guys have a question?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear us?
We can hear you.
Yes.
All right. Alexandra, go ahead.
Why do you only say marine birds, not anything else?
Okay, that's a good question. That's a very good question. So we concentrate on marine birds because our founder, the person that started this whole organization, which was back in 1968, there was an oil spill, and there were penguins that were oiled. And there was no organization around at that time to take care of these birds. So she actually brought 60 penguins to her home. She washed them in her bathtub. She actually transported them every single week to a tidal pool just so they can get some swimming practice in. And she fed them pieces of fish. So she actually started our whole organization, and she looked around and she noted that there are organizations for cats and dogs, and there are organizations for horses and all the other animals, but not for marine birds. So she concentrated on marine birds. Now, we obviously could have gone and done other animals as time went on, but you must remember that taking care of these animals is a lot of hard work. It's a lot of people to help us, and also it's a lot of money. And because we are a non-profit organization, which means that we only run on donation, we don't have enough money to take care of all animals. So we concentrate only on the marine birds. And the marine birds, because we're now very good at marine birds. I think if we started helping turtles, we'd actually have to do a lot of research, and it will take a lot of long years to get to as good as some other organizations that do turtles and tortoises and that sort of thing. But that's a great question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, Miss Dillon's class. I'm going to unmute your microphone, and you guys can ask a question.
What is the diet, and what do the birds eat? I mean, what does the penguins eat?
Okay, so all of our marine birds here are fed fish, sardines specifically. Each one of the penguins will eat 6 to 10 fish a day. We go through about 20 to 25 boxes of fish a day. This facility and the two others in the Eastern Cape combined. And we spend about 40 to 50,000 rand every week just to get that fish. That's only paid through by donations. And so, once again, it's thanks to people like you around the world and people here that live in our country that we can actually feed these guys and give them medicine and ensure there's water in the pool so they can swim. And the electricity is going for our heat lamps so they're nice and toasty warm. So it is very, very important. But we do have the two rock hoppers. We have two rock hoppers here. They get a very special diet besides the fish with squid. So where they live, there's actually more squid or calamari, if you might know it that way, in the water than there's actually fish. So we give them calamari because it's actually better for their feathers and they're used to it. But that's just because they live in a totally different place in the world. A very good question. Thank you. You guys are so loud today. You guys want to introduce? Okay.
Thank you, Miss Dillon's class. That was a great question. Okay, how about Miss Lundqvist's class? I'm gonna see if I can turn you guys up. I might need somebody on your end to push the button. Sorry, guys.
I think the penguins all know that they're actually being watched by all these amazing kids, and they're just like, oh my gosh, they're so excited. So that's why they're all noisy today.
They're showing off.
They're not normally like this.
Miss Lundqvist class, do you guys have someone who can unmute your microphone?
There we go.
I can hear you. It's just really quiet. So I'll see if I can. Okay, try again. How often do you? Oh no, I'm having trouble hearing. Do you get new penguins? Yes. Okay, that's the question.
Oh, so if you can repeat, what?
So it was,
what
how often do you guys get new penguins?
Leave the board there.
Okay, so I'm uncertain about the penguins, but in general, our patients we get on a daily basis. So we get about 2,500 patients every single day. And just to show you the types of birds that we get, I'm going to go into our admissions. We go into our admissions. I think I closed it. Let me just see if I can't find a light bulb. Where would the light switch be? No. Okay. Hopefully you guys can see that. These are the different types of birds we're getting. So we have our African penguins, and we have types of cormorants and Cape gannets, and so we get different types of birds. We get them on a daily basis, so every single day. But that's just the reason why we actually do releases every single week. So usually on Thursdays we do a release, and we release the penguins specifically at either Boulders Beach, which is a colony, or Stony Point. We have to release them in the colony because there's a lot of other penguins, and it gives them a good chance to survive. We don't want to just drop them off at the nearest beach because then they're all alone and they could get eaten by some sharks or anything like that. So it's important that we give them the best possible chance to survive. For our flight birds, like our seagulls and our cormorants, we release them at Robben Island, Dussin Island, and Taka Island. Sometimes we just take a boat out in the ocean and we release them on the boat, just so they're away from people and from the building, so they don't fly in there and hurt themselves again. That's a great question. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, let's go to Miss Connell's class. Or Connell? Miss Connell. I don't know how to say your last name. Sorry. What question do you guys have for us today?
What kind of training do you
Oh, I'm
need?
sorry. The volume is turned way down. Okay, try again.
What kind of training do you need to work at a place that rescues penguins?
Okay, so I can only talk about SANCCOB. I can't talk about other places that rescues penguins. We have a volunteering program, so we get people all over the world to come and help us. We have a lot of Americans, people from Canada, Europe, Asia, Australia. They're all coming here to help us. However, there are certain requirements. There are certain things that you need to be able to do. Firstly, you have to be able to speak English, because we are English speaking here in South Africa. So if you come and you speak Russian or Japanese or anything like that, we won't be able to understand you and we won't be able to train you. You don't have to have any prior knowledge or experience. We will train you all here at our center, but you also have to be 18. You have to be 18 years old. And that's just because all of the animals here are very much wild. So they are going to be biting you because they don't know that you're here to help them. They're going to try and escape from you. They're very strong. So a lot of the people here at our center, they have a lot of bites and a lot of scars on their arms and their hands just because the penguins are hurting them. And they're not doing it because, they're angry at us or anything. They just don't want to be touched that much. But we have to actually feed them, and we have to give them medicine, and we have to do operations on them to save their life. But while we're handling them, we also can't be too cuddly with them. We can't hug them. We can't kiss them. We can't do anything like that because then they're just going to get too tame. And if they get too tame, we can't take them back to the wild. So everybody here works as much as possible, but also we can't be too friendly with them, which is a little bit hard to do because they're so adorable. So, yes. So the moment you turn 18 and you want to help us out, please visit our website. That will be amazing. But otherwise, recycle, reduce, reuse, stop using straws, all of that stuff. That all helps us as well because it helps nature on your side. And then nature helping on your side helps us as well. Great question. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And where's your class located, Miss Connell?
We're in Melville, Saskatchewan.
In Saskatchewan, so we're in Canada. Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, let's cycle back and we'll have everyone ask another question. We still have some time. So how about Miss Garcia's class again?
You too? Nice and loud.
How's right now?
I didn't quite hear that one. Can you just be a little louder?
How many animals do you have right now?
How many animals do we have right now? That's a good question, Alex.
That's a great question. I'm going to go to our front. I'm going to see if you guys can't spot it. I'm just going to go to our front entrance over here. And this is our front entrance board. And over here, if you have a look, it's a little bit shiny, but we have 48 seagulls. We have 0 pelicans. We have 79 African penguins with us, and 17 cormorants, and 26 gannets. So in total, we have 171 birds at our center. It is a normal amount. I say we have on average at any given time about 150 to 250 birds here with us, which is a normal amount, yeah. That's a great question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay, how about Miss Dillon's class again? I'm going to unmute you right now. Okay, go ahead.
How many eggs can a penguin have?
So most species, there are 18 different types of penguins. Most species lay 2 eggs. Sometimes, very rarely, they'll lay 3, and sometimes 1. There are 2 species of penguin that only lay 1 egg, which are the king penguins and the emperor penguins. Oh, I just want to... And that's just because they live in Antarctica. They have to basically keep their eggs warm on their feet. So they don't have space to have an extra egg. But most of them have 2. But they only have 2 eggs a year. That's why they have to look after them very, very well.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Awesome question. Thanks, Miss Dillon's class. Okay, Miss Lundquist's class. Do you guys have another question? Oh, I think we're still having a little trouble. We'll try one more time. How many volunteers do they get?
Okay, so it depends on the time of year and how many animals we have at our center. So sometimes when there's not a lot of birds in, we'll only need about 25 volunteers. But during times in the year like chick season, when we get a lot of baby penguins, we'll need about 45. So it all depends. Very good question. On average, we have about 120 to 130 volunteers every year coming internationally. And that's not including all our local volunteers. So the people that live here, they also help us out a lot.
Awesome question. Thanks, guys. Okay, Miss Cannell's class.
My name is Jackson, and my name is Jackson, and who's the oldest penguin you have?
The oldest penguin we have is Flo. She's over 20 years old right now. So she is fairly old. Normal African penguins live for about 20 to 25 years. But because of all the bad and negative things happening to them, like the overfishing and the climate change and the pollution, they're now down to only living about 10 to 15 years. So they've lost about 10 years of life. But in captivity, like zoos and aquariums, the oldest African penguin was 44 years old. So very long lived if they're taken care of. So yes, that's a great question. I've just got a bit of a treat for you guys. We have an area in our center called the chick rearing unit. Now, unfortunately, our Wi-Fi can't reach all the way there, but we do have a video of inside the chick rearing unit, and I'm going to just play it for you guys, just so you can have a look at what it's all about. Let me just see. There we go. So this is a tiny little chick that's going to be fed right now. This is a GoPro video of us actually feeding one of our tiniest baby penguins. This guy is only a few days old, and what we're going to give him now is some fish formula. So we're putting 2 fingers next to the beak. That's actually tricking the chick into thinking that the parents are going to regurgitate food. So they usually open up. And that brown substance is fish formula. So it's blended fish mixed with vitamins and minerals and eggs and calcium. And it's all supplement to make sure that they grow as quickly as possible. Now, you'll also see the platter of food just above there. So these guys have to be fed every 3 hours. The first feeding at 6 a.m. in the morning, last feeding at 9 p.m. at night. So it's a lot of work that they go through. We also have to make sure that there's nothing wrong with him. So we have to take some blood work. We have to make sure that there's... Oh, no. Something went wrong. Let me try that again.
Computers against humanity.
Yeah, indeed. So these guys actually grow incredibly quickly. Now, if you guys took your hand and you put your thumb underneath your finger, underneath your chin, and your pointy finger just above your nose. So I'm just going to quickly show you guys. You guys do this right there, like that. That is how big they are when they are born from their egg. But they reach adult size in a month and a half. That's like, if you guys were born this morning, you would all be the size of your teachers tomorrow. That's how quickly they grow. And they have to grow that quickly because at 3 months of age, their parents are like, you're old enough now. The world is your oyster. Go out and explore. So they are like, okay, you can take care of yourself. So they have to grow very, very, very quickly. They have to lose that soft, very furry, very warm coating, and they have to get their first waterproof feathers, which is very, very important. Also have to make sure that they're nice and clean, which is why we're wiping his bottom over here. But this whole process, just with this one chick, is about 3 minutes. Now, we get hundreds and hundreds of chicks in our chick season. So, for instance, back in 2016, we got 979 penguin chicks that have to be fed every 3 hours. So, it's a lot of work. So, that's just an example of the things that we actually do here at our hospital and why they need all the help that we can get. So, yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. So I think we might be able to do a few more quick questions. So let's start Miss Dillon's class. Do you guys have a final question for Alex?
What is the weather like for African penguins, and are there differences?
I didn't hear the last part of your question, but the weather at the moment, it's winter right now, so we have winter rain, very thankfully, because we are in a drought. It is quite cold, but it's not cold enough to actually have snow, so we don't get snow here in South Africa. But in the heat, it's about 40 degrees, which is our hottest. So I'm not sure if you guys use degrees, but if you don't, there's some more homework for you guys. And then the last part of your question, what was it?
Are there different seasons?
Are there different seasons? Yes, there are different seasons. Definitely different seasons, thankfully. Great. Next
Awesome.
question.
Yes, next question. So I just was looking up 40 degrees Celsius, guys, is 104 degrees Fahrenheit.
Whoa!
That's in the summertime. What's the temperature during the winter time, Alex? What's the temp today?
The temperature today, I believe, is around about 14 degrees, 14 to 12.
So that's 57 degrees Fahrenheit. And 14 degrees Celsius is actually like a nice spring day in Canada. So our Saskatchewan and Ontario students are saying, that's your winter? Okay, so they said in Missouri, they usually have high temperatures of about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's like the 30s in Celsius.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's nice. I'd enjoy that. I'm a winter's person. I don't handle the heat very well.
Yeah, no, our low temperatures can be pretty cold. So in Missouri, they get down to minus 12 Celsius. And I know in Canada, we can get to minus 20, minus 30 sometimes. So that's really cold.
Sounds nice. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So I think we should all travel to South Africa and experience the warm winters. All right. Thanks, Miss Dillon's class. Okay, let's ask Miss Lundquist's class if you guys have a final question. Nice and loud. Oh, we're still having trouble hearing. Sorry, guys. Nice and loud. Oh, I still didn't catch that. Alex, did you hear that one?
I did not, unfortunately. No. Maybe you guys can like write it on a piece of paper.
Could we do the chat? Was it something about oil spills?
Shake your head, yes.
Yes. Okay. It was asking about oil spills. I think maybe if you go close to the computer, we can hear your teacher really well, but not your students.
Do you get a lot of oil spill cases?
Beautiful. We heard that so
well. So thankfully not as many as we used to in the past. Because of the location of South Africa, we do have major shipping lanes, obviously to the eastern part of Europe, as well as also Asia. But thankfully there's new legislation in place. But we do get an oil spill at least once every year to 2 years. Small oil spill. And also you must realize that it's not just crude oil and the masses oil. It could be things like cooking oil as well. So any type of oil actually acts as an oil spill. And it's not just on our coastline, it's also inland as well. So if there's an inland spill somewhere, we will also go and help those animals out. Now, as I mentioned before, it does take quite a number of people to actually help each individual animal. And it's not just marine birds that we handle, it's all animals that are oiled. We will go and handle them. But always very difficult to be prepared for because we never know where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, or how many animals we get. But yeah, that's a great question. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And last but not least, can we have one final question from Ms. Cannell's class?
Hi, my name's Dylan. Hi, my name's Dylan. Who gets to pick the name of the penguins?
Who gets to pick the names? That is a great question. So the normal patients, the guys that are only staying with us for a little bit, they don't get a name. they get a number. Just because we get 2,500 animals. Imagine naming 2,500 animals every year. That's Samantha, that's James, that's Michael. We'll run out. So we only give them a number. So if you see a penguin with the number 67 on, that means it's our 67th penguin we received this year. Now, the permanent birds, the ones that are staying here with us forever, they have names. And what we do is we actually have a voting system. So we vote with all the staff and all the volunteers that are with us currently. And that's why a lot of the names here are actually European, because we have a lot of European volunteers as well. So there's Hansel and Gretel in here, Meister and Meister. It's very interesting. And then we have interesting names like Ballerina. And then Ballerina turns out to be a boy. And then we're like, oh, so sorry, Ballerina. Your name is now Ballerina forever. And Steve turned out to be a girl. So the only real way to tell if they're girls or boys is if we actually draw blood and we send it off to a lab. The other thing is if we take some feather samples. So it's not just us, it's all zoo and aquaria. They would not be able to normally tell if they have girls or boys. They'd have to do some lab work in order to tell. But the guys here, some of them are also adoptable, which is also amazing. But obviously you won't be able to name. So our normal adoptions for our patients.
Oh, hey, do you still have one? Yeah. Okay, here you go.
So these guys over here, they don't have names yet. That's why with our adoption, you guys get to name them specifically. That's very cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Alex. And I'm going to say a big thank you to all of our classes. If you guys want, your microphones are on. You can say thanks to Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Well, hope everyone has a great day and continue celebrating our oceans. Have a good one. Bye, guys.